Yes, we're still here in Cuc Phuong National Park in Vietnam. Now we're looking at number 11 in our series, going through the book of Exodus. And this one's entitled Apostasy and Intercession. And of course, it's talking about that situation with the worship of the bull calf, that golden calf that was set up. And it was announced that this was the God who brought them out of Egypt. Of course, it's a load of nonsense, but for the people of the time, it could have rung true. They were used to the Egyptian system, and lots of animals were worshipped, including the cow and the calf and so on. So this wasn't something unusual for them. It wasn't an idol out of nowhere. It had a background. It had a history for them. And yeah, okay, well, the Egyptians have their gods. We've got this one. This is our own God, and we have him represented in this metallic idol form. And you can imagine the horror of Moses coming down to find them doing just this. And God says, okay, if that's really the way you want to go, this is the end, isn't it? And Moses is the one who pleads for the people and intercedes with God, saying, no, please, let's work this out. It's even understandable, I could even put it that way, that these people who had their minds so locked up in slavery for so many years and had seen so much religion, if you want to call it that, in what the Egyptians did, that they would have transferred their ideas from that to this God who was leading them out. They didn't really have a living experience with the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. That was long ago in the past, and you needed some visual representation. We even see that today in the various saints and the icons and so on in various religions. People want to concretize God and their relationship with him so that they can have something that they can hold on to, as if God can be brought down to the level of some kind of object. Later on, of course, Isaiah and others are objecting to all these idols that can't breathe. They're just made of metal or wood or stone, and they poke fun at the whole idea that you take a piece of wood and part of it you made into this idol that you worship and bow down before, and the rest of that piece of wood you chop it up and use it to light your fire and cook your food. It is ridiculous when you think about it, but that's exactly what was happening. So these people, they really needed to understand that this was not what God wanted, or was in any way a representation of him as he truly is. And now Moses, as he has to so often, steps into the breach and pleads for the people, saying, Lord, please have mercy, please forgive them, please take away all this punitive action. Of course, there are consequences, and we see that in the story, but they are not completely cut off, they're not completely wiped out, and Moses goes on to lead them. Later on, he also pleads with and says, God, your reputation is at stake here too. What will other people think if they hear that you brought your people out here into the desert and then you abandoned them? So there's a lot here for us to think about. Now, to make it applicable to us today, what about the idols that we worship? We don't go around bowing down to golden calves, but we do bow down to those things that matter the most to us. Things of value, things that we see as being important in our lives. And it may not even be physical things. It might be our careers or our aspirations in terms of what we want to achieve in our lives. And we can make an idol out of anything. But the key here is to say, okay, God, you come first. We're not going to have any other kind of thing to worship, because you do become like what you worship and admire. So let's make sure that's the true God and worship only him.